Okay, so yeah, welcome everyone to our last session of the semester of our SEGH Americas seminar series. This is, I think, the 6th talk we've had, and I've learned something new every time. So this has been a really great way, I think, to meet other SEGH members and people who are interested in really doing some cutting edge, awesome stuff with geochemistry. And I think this is sort of the perfect talk to wrap everything up, because it's kind of putting together a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. So yeah, with that, I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Oliver Mendoza Cano from the University of Colima. And he's going to be talking today about the epidemic-toxicological profile induction. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Oliver, and let you introduce us more to this. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak today.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very glad to be here. And I will be talking to you about this interesting project in which we are involved. I'm the PI of this, but they are around 30 or 40 professors and researchers from Mexico involved, and also several students from bachelor and graduate studies from many perspectives of the science. I will, well, this is a project which is funded by the CONACYT, which is the Science and Technology Institute, who make finance to science. We just had this project about the environmental and toxicological perspective, and also some infrastructure support with one ICP-MS that they gave to this group. So we are really pleased in order to achieve all the goals that we present. First of all, where is Colima, and why is Colima within the project? So we can see here Mexico. We have many industrial, mining, agricultural, and port activities in between the economical and neoliberal model. This is a position when health and environment are having some vulnerabilities. This is something that I will explain a little bit later, but it is necessary to promote the co-responsible participations with not only the authorities, but all the population. Every country in the world has different rules. In this case, in Mexico, this new government, this government is really working on the balance of the protection of the environment, but not only within the state agencies, but with the participation of the population, which is a really nice way to do it. Not only just because the people needs to be involved with the information, but to participate in the decisions. So it's really nice that science go within the scope of the matter, and that we are working in this kind of project. So in the same line, what is the real neural idea about the history of the destruction? So this is a contradictory capacity, because the production of the capitalist perspective is the capacity to produce increasing wealth for society. At the same time, that it is looting, social misery, and social environmental devastation. As I said, this is a really interesting topic in which we have to go through, and several social and humanistic science professionals have been landing in the recent years. So that's why the RESAs in Mexico has been constructed. They just show that are a lot of regions in Mexico, and this National Council of Science and Technology, also the Secretariat of Health and the Environmental Secretariat, signed a framework that, with the participatory policies, some various groups, some institutions, some organizations, some community-based participations, they build and they state these RESAs, these regions of environmental emergency and sanitary in Mexico. So this is not only like an academic idea, this is a state declaration within the population that we have some specific problem in a region. And also it's an instrument that the policies will be promoted for surveillances and compliances with environmental health regulations, because all the health authorities are also included, and this will help in order to promote the policy, the necessary policies in each region, which is really different, as we are going to see in this presentation. So we saw where is Colima, and now we're going to see, like, in a big perspective within a really small but beautiful state, how it's organized. We have here at the left the map of the mining in Colima. We have the concession mining for exploration in blue, for example, here, big marks, and the mining concession, which is already working on red here. And by the other hand, we have on green here the extensive agricultural areas in our state. So we can see by first sight that we have like these two really big activities working almost in the whole state, mining and agricultural. So we can have some extractive pollutants from left side, and this organic based one from the right. So we never had here one study that would achieve, like, in the whole state, how was the environmental and health perspective or profile, which we are working right now on this. So this RESAS project has to have a lot of, well, almost 4 articular points. So solid scientific background, trajectory of social incidents, contributions to development of public policies on toxic agents, and some interdisciplinary integration. So would be really nice to have all these 3 first points in order to have this integration. So in geographic information systems, social sciences, and social environmental studies, and of course, all these projects on RESAS will have to construct, to build, or to support this collective social subject, which is a really main constructor of incidents in this kind of project. Because it's not only just informing, it's just to develop how the community is really responding to the information. And that's why, and that's because it is difficult and I have to say it expensive to have these studies going on. And most of the cases, the industry is not going to do them. And if they do, they're not going to make the science related perspective for social integration and social support for policies. So this is really interesting for this kind of project to have support this transfer information to build this collective social subject. So we have 3 stages of the project. The last year, we constructed the state of the art, all the scenarios. We have, as we mentioned before the meeting, the environmental analysis of pollutants in the rainy season, heavy metals and environmental matrices. We're going to have some air quality monitoring station also in the project to build an integrated environmental perspective. And the stage 2 and 3 is going to be like, all right, this first is on the environment. Here is based on biological samples and biomarkers. And the third is the incidents, the workshop, the organizational experience, and the mechanisms of social and epidemiological surveys. So it's going to be like the way in which all this information is going to land on the people and into the authorities to construct weight from the policies and from the regulations. We're working also with the hospitals and try to sensibilize about what can be in those scenarios in order to that go through the knowledge and they can see more than the most clinical values or most common clinical values they have in the region. So here we have these 2 samples in which we had some sediments and soil and water samples in the state. And well, where we are here, we have Mexico, and we're just stating why is also Colima. And we have main corridors in Mexico in which we have railroads or roads that goes through the different ports here, for example, from South and Central America. And here in Manzanillo, there are 2 main corridors. The Nuevo Laredo goes to the United States, and from the South America. So we have a very high and big and heavy railroad to connect in Manzanillo's port and then go to the north. So we have several industry around this pole in which we have also some damages, some externalities, and some ways that the pollutants have to be measured. So this is an early, and of course there are a lot of, well, not a lot of this in Coatzacoalcos, in Salina Cruz, this in Acapulco, also in Matamoros, Nogales, Guaymas, and in these places there are some other projects going because of this high density of activities around this pole on all the merchandise that goes and come from this point to other. I have to say that Manzanillo is one of the biggest ports in Mexico. I have to say that the one that moves more containers in all the Pacific from our country. So this is an early stage of intervention. These policies are needed. This is a potential RESA in this neoliberal corridor. So social organization is what needs to be developed. I think not only in Colima, I think in many places. Information is needed, but the people needs also a way to not only to be informed, but to participate. So we in the way from the graphical comparison in the mortality in the last 20 years, we saw a difference, a significant difference in the prostate, breast, lung, ovarian, and some melanoma, which is higher in Colima, in the country. So we have here in Colima also a very big hospital about cancerology, which is a regional one. So the authorities knew this from several years ago, but we are taking all this information in order to support why Colima. We also have the second place in chronic renal problems here. So just Tlaxcala is in the first place, and then Colima. So our main objective is to generate a profile, a general profile that shows how is the epidemiological and toxicological panorama. So taking these classifications, this socio-environmental health emergency region with the collective participation in it. So at the end of the project, we could make a real definition of the ARESA here in one of the five, or in the five, we're going to see it. We already don't know. But defining this priority is going to be really interesting in order to have the prevention and the information about what we are talking right now. So we have some results about the state of the art, which also are quite interesting. We have in Mexico some the environmental agency shows, based in the process of some industry and services, some emissions that they have in the site. So we take those data, and make a list of what they are showing about from the processes in the different municipalities in Colima. So we have a lot of metals and chemicals, dioxins, and some different stuff that we're having here in our state from the government, from the processes derived from the government. We also made some measurements with satellites from how the gases are moving within the state. We're going to see why we take this, because we have some industry, heavy industry in a small state, some values of there, and we have also in this next slides the risk atlas, which is a series of maps that were made in order to build how in 2019 how were the risk for water pollution. So we knew and we know from this study that we have 3 municipalities from 10 that we have very high hazard index, and with high there are also these are María, Tecomán, Colima, Villa de Álvarez, San Miguel Titlán, and half in Manzanillo and Comala. So we have this is not really a strange thing because the scarcity and how we took or are taking water from the ground, it's increasing time to time. So when we have this problem, we're going to have more and more problems also with the water quality. Also, from the solid urban waste, from the risk atlas, we have some pesticides poisoning in the state. Here are the incident rates from the 13 and the 18. These points are regarding the places in which they sell pesticides and the risk between these areas. So another risk factors also taken from the SENAPRED, mining, danger from mining, residues and tailings, some contaminated sites. As I said, we have the Port Manzanillo. This is classified as a contaminated site by hydrocarbons, anthropic activities, and some other, whenever you can imagine, type of contaminant here. And also the chemical and technological risks, the industry with high dangerous chemical substances. From this, as I said, from the Semarnat, the government agency that shows which activities are polluting the different scenarios that we have, because we took some scenarios that we are going to show in the next slides. So we know that there are some toxic agents, some arrays, some industry source, and some references that we have. Just before that we made the punctual and field work to measure them. So we have some asbestos, some manganese, some chrome, in some in the government and also in some specific publications that were not articulated in a profile and just before this. So we have this in Manzanillo, where the port and where a thermoelectric and where a gas station, very big gas marine station, and also when we have some tourism there. We have a lot of dusts because there are a very big strategy for having metals, most of them metals in dust. I mean, they have some very big mountains of dust, and they just take that mineral and go to Asia most of the times. We have this same in Villa de Álvarez. This is other Colima and Villa de Álvarez municipality, in which we have this state of the art, some problems that they were found. Also in Tecoman, as we can see this polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and all the glyphosates and these chemical and pesticides that are really because of the activities in that. Minatitlan, we have also some heavy metals from the government and also from the studies that we have made. And Cuauhtémoc Quesería, also we have some sugar cane factory over there, in which what implies that, so which is really well, from the social perspective also is an interesting way to see, and the health is really worrying. So by this, the summary, Colima concentrates important economic centers, also generates toxic agents and polluting processes, The emissions into the environment can be by different sources, and there's a little information about monitoring pollutants, and almost a very few on human health and risk and effects. Also, the poverty and marginalization scheme has some vulnerable issues on Colima. And well, these actions to counterattack health risk due to environmental factors is that all this group are working on. So we took these scenarios as I was saying, Manzanillo, which is here, Colima Villa de Álvarez, which is here, the capital, Tecomán, here with the very agro-industrial and some cement factory, Minatitlan, which is here, and Cuauhtémoc. It's not a cheese, it's like sugar cane, sorry. So this sampling and design environmental matrices, we took some with Rebecca, she's also here. She's one of the scientists working and the specialists, as also Ophelia is. Really nice scientists who are supporting this project. We're taking some normative from the Mexican government for water, soil, and also with sediments in the aquatic. We took some samples and were analyzed by ICP-MS and ICP-OS. They were analyzed in the UNAM, the chemistry lab, from Dr. Ophelia. And these samples were obtained in the rainy season. It's really interesting. We want to make two measurements, one rainy, the other where it's not raining. So some products, the geolocation, sampling methodology, we take some Mexican official standards. All was geolocated. All was with the sample design, with field sheets, and the metal contents also determined by the normative, and the technical reports were made and were satisfactorily received by the council who is funding this project. So I want to show you right now how did we deal with the hydrology state in Colima. We took the samples in the states. I didn't say it, but we have an active volcano here also. Not only Ophelia has it, the Popocatépetl. We also have our own, which is the Colima volcano. And as you can see, the basin here is really interesting. We are around 30 straight kilometers from the volcano. So in this really small area, we have a lot of activities working. That's why it was a kind of difficult to state these scenarios, but we are dealing with the possibility to make differences, statistical differences in which we are going to find, not only in the environment, but in health and biomarkers. So this is what I'm telling you. So we have the volcano, we have all these mountains with our full field of minerals. We have a lot of ferrum, a lot of manganese. We also have some right here around a gold mine, which has been a lot of well, the people is not agree that they will go through the mountain, and because we almost 1/3 of the population depends on the water that is going from this mountain. So if the gold mine goes into that mountain, 1/3 the population is not going to have at least clean water, and I think not water at all. So we took those samples. Here are our students and some other specialists. We measure in the well water point with all the normative circumstances. And we also have these results. We have some maybe a kind of logical, but we have some iron and manganese problems in the water. I have to say that this is rainy season, so it is really interesting because when scarcity comes, we could see higher values in other inorganic elements. So yes, almost iron and manganese were out of the normative, which is nice. But also maybe manganese has been underestimated because manganese is a really potent, very high neurotoxic. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a less danger because manganese, right? Well, we have some maps about their ferrum concentration, which we have some different sources. I mean, not only around the Minatitlán, where we have the mine of ferrum, but almost in the whole state, maybe less in Manzanillo, we have higher values of ferrum. So we could see it like maybe Colima is a very big ferrum mine, but a kind of thing for having in the scope, because water is a really interesting way to see, because here in Mexico, or at least in our state, they only make some chlorine treatment from the water. They don't have filters to have some other inorganic remotion. So if we have some inorganic here, we're going to have them in all the tubes. So this is what it is. Also the manganese, we can see it in well water, almost in the whole state. I have to say that here in Manzanillo, when we don't have some red spots, is because most of the well water here are infiltrated by salt sea. Almost all the water that goes to Manzanillo is coming from Armeria in this side. So maybe that's why they don't have a very high concentration of this ferrum manganese. So these preliminary conclusions and recommendations are, well, we have some ferrum and manganese values above the permissive points. We took these samples in the rainy season, as I said, and well, it is really this is interesting because these activities of iron ores can contribute to the greater chemical availability. So we have to study a little bit more on what are we going to find in the not rainy season here, in order to see, and also we're talking with the people in the water sector in order to can achieve maybe a seasonal sampling in all the wells, because it's going to be needed in order to the findings that we're having. So also we take some surface soil matrix. There's a grade that was constructed by Rebecca, who's in the meeting, and we made this statewide statement for surface soils. We take these samples in order to have a representation in the urban and the not urban areas, in order to have what can we be found. Here we can see again our volcano, only 30 kilometers. You can be here in Colima and well, we're here at the mountain, and less than an hour being here at the beach, having a fish by the sea. So it's really a short way. So we took these samples, some cells, and almost all of that, I mean, all of the points were made like this in the surface soil, according to the sample design and going through the analytical phase. These were the points that we were taking, almost in the state. What is next? Well, the next thing is to measure those points and to see what can be found. We have some preliminary results right now. And yes, we want to have this information available for all the people in the seminar to share it and to see what can be the next steps in order to have a better understanding of the sources, of the risks, and within the next step of the project, which is also the biomarkers that we're going to do. Also, we made the sediments. We have some lagoon here. Here's the Cuyutlan Lagoon. So we took those samples here, and we have this in Tecoman, another samples that we're taking. And there are some towns here that lives almost from the fishing from those areas. And they also have some cockroach, but it's nice also to study what do we have in the metal and pesticide perspective. So we took this Arcusahue, Palo Verde, and Cuyutlan lagoons. We took them and also made in Ophelia's laboratory in the metals. So this is the inorganic constituents, metals that we are going to interpret. So, and yes, that's the step in the inorganic matrices in Colima. As I mentioned before, we're going to do also, we have it right now, and I'm working on the net about the air quality monitoring station. I think there's a lot of companies that offers this kind of services, but we're working with one specific and try to build our own server in order to show to the people and to the government the usability of this technology. So the people can really go through the site and see with the help of the scientists involved in the project how is really the air they have around. So the particulate matters are really a nice target, and all these sensors that are shown are going to be in the platform. So this is another perspective from the project, because when we go to the ground to take samples in each of the 5 scenarios, we're going to take our station and show to the people how are how is the situation about the air quality. So we're going to do this this strategy around it. And how are we going to do this? I mean, the way in order to go to the place. This is another talk because we have seen, for example, that this is a strategy from community service. So we're going with students and professors to that community in a whole week. So we're going to talk to them. So we're going to talk with the school because we want to measure child's with health indexes and nutritional, biomedical in these places, and also we're going to go to the cluster, house cluster. We call it AHEP here in Mexico. So we are going to have like the perspective for morbid mortality in each sector, also the educational way in the area, and the sampling size and the sampling site within the children involved in the study. And with that, all the biomarkers and the way to make a comparison between all these 5 different scenarios in the state of Colima. So the platform is going to give us this kind of information from the air, funded by CONACYT. And that's right. This is my presentation. I'm open for questions and also from collaboration. It's a very huge project, which is in the middle. So we're very happy to share this knowledge to this seminar and to all the very nice and professional scientists and students that are listening and seeing us. Thank you so much.
All right. Wow, that was a really comprehensive talk and presentation. That sounds like such an amazing network of people that you're working with from all different sorts of backgrounds and sectors. So I have a ton of questions, but I will open it up to everyone else. Does anybody else have a question or a comment or anything? Go ahead and feel free to just unmute and go for it. Yeah. Ophelia, here. Oh. There you go.
Okay. Oliver, it's a lot of work.
Thank you.
How do you show? Why are you analyzing this organic compounds?
Yeah, we're working with SEGH in Monterrey. There's the Dr. Octavio Gaspar, who is going to help us to make these pesticides. He's an expert in the field. We're measuring 166 molecules in 80 samples. So actually, this field work is going to be held on the first days of June. So we're almost prepared for that. And we are going to measure, well water, soil samples, some food, and also, we're concerned about glyphosate here and some other organic pollutants, of course. but right now the main target is glyphosate. And some other basins here, which we have some kind of concerns about the use and reuse of water that are down to the basin and maybe with some organic pollutants around.
And the other question is, I don't know if I understood, if I have it like you said, you have information from other works in the
Yeah.
same localities.
Yeah. Yes, but that was preliminary studies. I mean, they were made some years ago, and they were taken from the state government, from the environmental agency. So they don't measure. I mean, well, they do, not the agency. The private laboratories, they measure how the environment is, but this is not
And when
available. When?
When they did it?
Oh, about the preliminary results I showed?
Yes.
No, they did it in
The new works.
the new what?
I mean, there are new works or very old works,
Oh,
studies.
no, they're new, 2017, and
Okay.
yes, in 2017 there are some 2015, maybe the oldest. Yes, there are some work that the Monterrey Tech made around 15 years ago. Yeah, but was a kind of environmental matrices, not by human. And so
Okay.
yeah, so we chased all the information that we had here in order to construct the state of the art. That was most of the thing that I put here in the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you, Ophelia.
Okay, do we have more questions?
No.
Yeah, go ahead. You can speak if you want.
Somebody there? No.
Okay, I'm very interested. I have a few questions for you. Well, first of all, a comment again. Thanks for this presentation. And I'm really just super impressed by the variety, like I said before, of disciplines and way of thinking about this. We've talked a lot about this stuff, over the last several seminars sort of separately, but I think that this really brings it all together in one project, thinking about the social angle, the economic angle, talking about, I really like the discussion at the beginning about the, neoliberalism and sort of the trade-off between economic gains, societal gain, or societal destruction, environmental destruction. And that's always important to think about, I mean, I wasn't trained to do that, but it sounds like the partners that you have that are all working together, yeah, I think you can do really good things there. So I'm wondering, I guess, sort of when you're putting all of this together, is the idea then you're going to identify all of this stuff and then feed it back to the government or policymakers that will, what will they end up doing with it, do you think, all of this information? Oh, did I freeze or did Oliver freeze? Oh no, we lost Oliver. Ophelia, are you still there? Okay, well, I think I'm gonna stop the recording and we'll see if Oliver can jump back on. But yeah, thanks everybody for attending this, and we're gonna put this online, so this will get spread throughout the rest of the SEGH community. And be sure and contact Oliver. Like you said, he's looking for collaborators and people with inputs. Although it sounds like they have a pretty good handle on this already, so really impressed. So yeah, thanks to everybody for showing up, and we'll see you maybe in the fall, hopefully. All right, take care.